Maybe to what people think about Israeli-Mandela relations, he was actually one of us in a way.
Well, we love to be in the spotlight, don't we?
And we're going to talk about this with, as you said, the researcher who divulged this subject. According to the document, of course, Mandela was familiar with the problems of Jewry and of Israel, and that Israeli operatives tried to make him a Zionist. This is all quotes. We are joined on the phone by David Fachler, who broke the story with Ofer Aderet from Haaretz. Hi, David.
Hi.
So what was your initial reaction when you saw this document?
Well, I saw the document quite a while back. I think the way you phrased it before was a bit inaccurate. I mean, they did have some relationship with Mandela. I don't know how significant it was. It was in 1962. They weren't even sure that his name was Mandela at the time. They only discovered that later. He wasn't a famous person at that time. Mm-hmm. And it was a period when Israel was trying to foster relations with the African decolonized states, and in the various embassies, not in South Africa, but in the various embassies of Israel in other countries in Africa, various black organizations were making contacts with the Israelis, mm-hmm. because they were perceived to be on the African state side as opposed to South Africa.
What was in it for Mandela? What did he want to acquire from the Mossad?
Well, look, this is one document, so we wouldn't know. But
okay.
That apparently he was quite familiar with the fact that the Haganah and the Irgun of 14 years before then,
the underground,
62,
right? Mm-hmm.
I think their tactics was something that he admired, because at the end of the day, they managed to acquire Jewish states. So he wanted to see, as a liberation tool, how to use it. But generally speaking, the ANC, subsequently to his arrest and everything, didn't have much contact with the Israelis because they were more on the Soviet side. And a lot of them were communists. But the PAC had contact with.
I'm going to cut you off there. As a researcher of South African-Israeli relations, in an academic perspective, how much was this a surprising revelation? Because some will say that South African-Israeli relations have not been very strong as of late, especially.
No, as of late, for sure not.
Right.
Look, it's surprising that they had anything to do with Mandela. We have to recall that we in the 60s, at least until the Six-Day War, Israel was very much perceived to be always voted in the United Nations and in other international organizations against South Africa and against apartheid. The people don't realize that now, because since the Yom Kippur War, when all the African states abandoned Israel and had no friends, so Israel fostered relations with South Africa. But before that, before 67 at least, between 67 and 73 is when Israel was slowly being isolated. But before 67, Israel was very much pro-Africa, very much pro the decolonization movement, and they were voting against apartheid, and even in the Knesset, they said how immoral it is.
Right.
And but so from a research perspective, it's not so surprising. Well, it's startling is that they had that contact with Mandela. People didn't know about that.
Right.
As a news item.
Well, the headlines here in Israel, of course, are going to be taking up that story from Haaretz. David Fachler, thank you for that.